Hello. It's been a week of variable progress, is how I would put it. This one has had its wet finish, which I'm excited about because this took way longer to finish than it should have. So I do have the binding on the ends. I'll show you the length in a second. I have the binding on the ends, and that is 2 lengths of the ribbon yarn, one on that side, joined in the middle. And that is just to wrap around. It's not a raw edge as such because I did machine stitch it, but it's a rough looking edge. So I thought, well, we'll make that look a bit prettier with some binding. And this took forever. Couple of reasons. First of all, I sat down to cut 2 lengths of binding for this end, no problem, or maybe the other end, it's irrelevant. 2 ends of ribbon yarn for this end, not a problem. And then I didn't have enough to do another 2 for the other end. Now, there's already spoilers, you know it worked out. But getting to this point was long. And I thought, I must have enough of this ribbon yarn because I could remember holding a handful of it, leftovers. And I looked everywhere and I couldn't find any. And I thought, that's really strange. And I thought maybe I'd just misremembered when I'd had that handful of yarn. Maybe it was during warping up. I don't know what this hand's doing. It's demonstrating what it's like to have a handful of yarn, in case you were wondering. So I thought, well, that's okay. I will go to plan B. And plan B was to dig some fabric out of the stash and make a kind of wide ribbon or a wide bias tape, whatever, to wrap the ends in. And I dug through the stash and there wasn't really anything that worked particularly with these colours because there's a lot of colours in here. And it shouldn't be that hard to find something that works, but I didn't have anything that really sat well with this. I did find some red and I thought, well, that'll do. There's red in here. So I got the red out of the stash, just scraps. I don't know what it's from. Cut it out, and then I went to press it because when you're doing I meant to do that. When you're doing a binding, you want a nice crisp edge so that it looks nice when you sew it on. And it wouldn't take a press. I don't know what it was, some kind of synthetic nonsense. So I put that in the bin because I'm not dealing with synthetic nonsense fabrics that think they're too good to be ironed. And then I went to plan C. Yes, or 3, depending on how you like to number or letter your plans. And that was to take some more of this sock yarn, which is in here somewhere. So this little band here, which is the sock yarn, and there's one in there as well. And I thought if I weave a band of that with the sock yarn, it'll match the colours in here and it'll look great. I don't have enough sock yarn to do that with. I've finally used all of that. I bought it last year or the year before, can't remember, to make a big cardigan out of, and I've been working through it ever since. And I think there's probably a ball somewhere that I don't know about, but I think I have actually finally used it up, which was a problem because then I didn't have a way to finish the ends on this. But as you can see, spoilers from before, it all worked out because I came in here to do some tidying up. This room needs tidying up. Every room needs tidying up. And I found the big handful of loose ribbon yarn behind the sewing machine, which is not where I would have thought I would have put it. But, you know, past me makes decisions. So it is bound. It is done. It is finished. I'll show you the length. It has come out really, really well. And because of the different shrinkage, you might be able to see. I can't see anything except for this. So let me just peek. Yep. You might be able to see it's naturally curving because of the shrinkage in the wet finish. There was already a bit of a curve in it due to the difference in tensions because this was quite tight and this was quite loose, and that gave it a bit of a shape. All of the different shrinkages have given it this really nice curve, which means it sits really well as a shawl. I don't know that it's long enough to be a wrap, but it is fabulous. It's fantastic. I love these colours. I love how it's come out. It was worth all of the faff. Oh, the other problem I had, while I'm whinging, was joining these 2 bands. I was going to use a needle and yarn, and it looked rubbish. So I thought, okay, all right, I'll pay attention to the original instructions for this yarn and crochet, because it has loops down the side. You can't really see them because I've sewn them in. So I crocheted. My tension was too tight and the ribbons pulled in, and then my tension was too loose and everything gave up. I've machine stitched it. I just gave up and went, right, I'm going to run a machine stitch down there and we'll go with that. So the loops are hidden inside. I trimmed them a little bit, but they are hidden inside. And everything is nicely encased and reasonably secure. I did wet finish this in the washing machine and it didn't fall apart because I thought that would be the ultimate test for this binding, which is hand stitched on. It's just that's hiding some machine stitching. So that is done and fabulous. And I love it. Now, on the big loom, I do have another stash buster. Last week I showed you the warp, which was just sitting there waiting for me to do something with it. I have started doing something with it. I could have got further on it, except I was faffing with the rainbow one. So I'll show you what the big loom's looking like. This is the warp that I showed you last week. There's the warp that I showed you last week. Now it's got weaving on it. So things are progressing, not very quickly because my hem stitching is still just there. I haven't done one full rotation on the front beam yet. We're getting there. This is a stash buster. I had 2 yarns in the stash that I needed to bust. One of them was this one, Big Baby 4-ply by Patons, and that's an acrylic and nylon blend. I had 2 balls of this, and I don't know why. I think probably I just liked the colours and thought they'd look nice woven up. So I grabbed a couple and then put them in the stash and moved on and forgot about them. And then this one up here is by Ice Yarns. It is discontinued. This has been in the stash for probably 7 or 8 years. Probably 7, I would say, if we want to be precise. I don't know why we need to be, but I would say 7. And Ice Yarns don't tend to keep their yarns around for that long. So this is a multi-thickness yarn, as you can see, hopefully. So it's spun quite tightly there, and then it goes into these looser slubs. And if I pulled on that, that would fall apart. So what I'm not going to do is pull on it, because I don't want it to fall apart. But that gives this great texture in the weaving. And you can see there, those thicker bits. Some of them are on the edges, some of them are in the middle. They're not fully lining up, which I like. They're lining up a little bit and then getting on with their own thing, which I like. This is a skipped dent warp, so you can see I've got gaps. I'm using the 12.5 dent heddle, which is quite fine, and I don't tend to use it because it's quite fine. So this is just sort of a bit of visual interest. Let these lumps be a bit lumpy. Stop me if I get technical. There is a mistake. I skipped 1 dent here when I should have skipped 2. It's all fine. We're just going to roll with it. So I don't know when this will come off the loom. Hopefully this week. It shouldn't take too long. But that's how last week's warp is looking. And I'm hoping this week, this coming week, I can get a little bit more done on the weaving because I have been slightly ignoring it. Now, you may remember the purple project on the little loom. It's still there. It's still on the little loom. I only really sat down last night to do any work on this. It feels good on the loom. It's nice to weave. I just haven't got around to sitting down to doing it. Really fun texture, which I'm loving. Feels nice to weave. Maybe next week this will be off the loom, perhaps. But at the moment, it's looking much like it did last time, but I do promise that there's progress, which you can see on the front beam there. So cross stitch. Let me get my cross stitch. I'm going over here. So I've got my cross stitch bag, which is one of my Moore's bags, and I have a finished Myrtle the turtle, who is hopefully in shot. Up a bit, Myrtle. There you go, Dom. Really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm enjoying the other one that I'm doing at the moment as well, which I'll show you in a second. And I'm really pleased with the yellow. So the yellow in those flowers at the top, particularly that big flower, in fact, all of the yellow in the flowers at the top. Am I still in shot? Yes. That was in the chart a greeny yellow or a yellowy green, and I didn't love it. And I swapped it out because it didn't show up very well in that little tiny flower just there. Didn't show up very well. So I swapped it out, didn't like that. Eventually swapped it, 3rd time lucky, for this yellow, and I really like how this yellow sits with the other colours. So Myrtle is done. She needs pressing, obviously, a bit of a wash and a press. Really, really liked it. One of the things I like about this is quite a lot of it is symmetrical. So if you divide that turtle shell, obviously the head and the... Myrtle, would you stand up and be looked at, please? Thank you. Divide that down the middle. It's symmetrical both sides. It's just the feet and the head and everything that's different. All of the flowers are symmetrical. So once you've started it, you kind of don't really need to refer to the chart very much. So with Myrtle finished, I have moved on to Ellie, who is in my frame down here. And I'm going to smoothly and professionally get that frame out and maybe even hold it the right way up. Let me see how that goes. Here it is. So here is how Ellie is looking. I've done the blanket, the sort of hat bit and the blanket bit, so she looks a bit less crumbly. Obviously working on the ear at the moment. I've done all the shading in there. It needs to have her eye put in. And then she's going to have, and I've got the image over here to stay in shot. So eventually she will have a spray of flowers, oh wow, over the top of her head, up a little bit. As ever, my phone is acting as the viewfinder and it's too low and I'm not used to it yet. But one day I will, remember how to work this thing. Probably not. So that's how Ellie's going to look. That is how Ellie is currently looking. If she's in focus, I don't know. Enjoying this one now that I've finished the pink. Getting through the pink was a bit of a slog, and Ordinarily, I wouldn't have pushed through. I would have like taken a little break and worked on the ear for a bit, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough of this pink thread. So if I needed to order more, I could get it in time to finish the piece. But we're all good. Got enough pink thread. Almost ready to work on the big spray of flowers, which should be fun. That is all I have for you this week. Yes, that's it. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.